I now want to talk about the topic of the psychology of money, a topic of great interest to many people. Money, cash, lots of it, and credit cards. How do you motivate people? What meaning do they associate with money? Does money bring you happiness? What are the characteristics that most people associate with money? Well, I want to start off with my first slide, which has 5 facts on it. And I'm going to talk about all these topics. First of all, people are far from rational with respect to their money. The economists believe that we are homo economicus, rational man. I'm going to show you and persuade you that when people make money decisions, they make bad money decisions. Let me give you an example. Let us imagine I borrow money on my credit card. At the moment, I have to pay 18% interest per month if I borrow money on this card. What percentage of people borrow money on their credit card but have money in the bank earning them 1% interest? So they're earning 1% interest but spending so much so they're paying 18%. Is that logical? Is that rational? The answer is no, it isn't. But people do that. They treat money differently depending on where the money comes from. They spend differently with cash than they do with credit cards. They spend and use other people's money differently from their own. And they are not very rational. They're not irrational, they're irrational. I will talk about that. Next, that money beliefs and behaviors can be traced to early childhood and early education. I think you have moneygrams like telegrams in your head. I spend and save money. I am a saver, not a spender. I'm a saver because of the way I was brought up. I was a saver because of my parents' lack of money. Some of you will be savers, other people will be spenders. It's a great surprise when you meet people who are different from you. Some of you will have partners or husbands or wives who are different from you. As sometimes spenders marry savers. And it can cause tremendous difficulty, often because these things are not discussed. These ideas about money, what money is for, whether money is protection, come from early childhood. I'm going to mention that as well. Next, and this is very important, money is not a powerful motivator at work, it's a powerful demotivator. Get it wrong and you cause enormous problems. Get it right and you don't get a great deal of benefit. I'm going to come back to this shortly. It is important to bear in mind. If you pay people in such a way that they feel unhappy or inequitably dealt with, they are furious. You can see this in Great Britain when, for instance, you have bonuses to business people. Very rarely are they happy. They're usually very unhappy. It's a very important issue. Money is a more powerful demotivator than motivator. And fifthly, we apply various unhelpful heuristics when we think about money. Those are ways of thinking, rules of thumb, which we apply to money, which can be very unhelpful. Okay, let us have a look now at slide number 2. I have said that our attitudes towards money come from various places, often from childhood. They also come from education and the media. People might, in some countries, portray the rich as being very happy or as very unhappy. Some countries believe that education is more important than wealth, and we are educated into beliefs about money, what you should do with money, whether you should show money or not. For instance, there is a very important theory in the West called the Protestant work ethic. It's the work of a German called Weber. And Weber argued that the Protestants are always more successful than the Catholics. The Protestant countries of Europe are richer than the Catholic countries. Indeed, the Protestants in America are richer than the Catholics. Why? Well, partly because of their attitudes towards money and their socialization. The Protestants believed that it was important to make money and that making money was a sign of God's grace, but that you shouldn't spend it on lavish goods. You should reinvest it. And so the Protestants worked hard, made money. They thought making money was a good thing, but spending money was not. And it came from your socialization. Your parents gave you a belief system. What else? Well, of course, social comparisons. You compare yourself with other people. Are you rich or are you poor? Well, the answer is who you compare yourself with. If you compare yourself with somebody sitting next to you, perhaps in a lecture theatre, well, you might feel very different from comparing yourself with a school friend. Wealth and money are comparative, and so your attitudes are also socially comparative. And also from your greater societies. Some societies are more materialistic than others. Some are post-materialistic societies. A lot of Europe, I have noticed this with my students. Making of money is thought to be as less important than having a good life, and the relationship between the two is not that clear. Slide 3 shows statistics which economists do not like. It is data from America over 50 years, and the blue line, which goes straight up, shows the increased wealth of the average American. The other line, which is a straight line, shows the happiness of the average American. And what you can see is the average American has got a lot richer, but they haven't got a lot happier. And the question is, how much do you need to be happy? And this is often a moral question, and certainly poor people are less happy than rich people. Certainly. The question is, when are you poor and when are you rich, and what effect does money have? There is massive data over long periods of time that money has very little effect on happiness over a particular amount. Happiness is dependent by many things: people's personality, their health, their social relationships. All of these are more important than money. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. Many people will disagree with me very profoundly. They will think that if only I had a lot more money, I could buy things and have this and have that, and this would lead to happiness. The psychological literature is very, very clear. It will not do that for you. Friendships, good experiences, good health, these are much more important. This doesn't mean that money is not important. It's very important in business, but it's not all important. Slide 4 just shows you shapes of coins and currency. It's an interesting question. I don't know how many of you have been to America, but the Americans are very strange with regard to their money. All dollar bills are the same color. All dollar bills are the same shape. This is not wise. It makes them difficult to distinguish one from another. Their coins don't follow a logic. In Great Britain, our coins, which you can see in the slide, were designed by a psychologist to make them very clear. Foreign people can understand our currency quickly. Blind people can understand our currency quickly. But the question becomes, what happens when you change your currency? We introduced the £1 coin a number of years ago. The Europeans introduced the euro, and changes will be happening in Eastern Europe. Money is just, supposedly, pieces of paper and pieces of metal, but they are imbued with psychological meaning. Why do the Americans not have a $1 coin? It is illogical. Paper money wears out. Paper money can easily be forged. Paper money is not good at that level. Why? Because of the symbolic nature of the currency. They tried to introduce a coin and were unsuccessful. What this illustrates is the powerful psychological factors associated with money, even coins, pieces of paper, that are inherently worthless. But the psychological factors makes it so powerful. It's that factor which the Freudians picked up on years ago. Slide 5 shows some of the work on the psychoanalysis of money. And the Freudians argued that money is associated with cleanliness and time and orderliness and obsessionality. And it's a very interesting hypothesis. It's a hypothesis why you cheer yourself up by going shopping. I think it's amusing, but I'm not going to talk about it here. What I do think is relevant is that the psychoanalysts understood that money is imbued with psychological meaning, that it has a history, that people's attitudes towards all sorts of things are linked to the money. And this is why they are not particularly rational with regard to their money. Slide 6 is the result of a study which says to a big population group, in the past year, can you recall associating money with any of the following? So these are emotional associations of money. What you'll see is in yellow, they're all negative associations. Anxiety, depression, anger, helplessness, envy, resentment. In other words, money is associated with negative emotions, not positive emotions. If you think about money, you think about debt, you think about worry, you think about people stealing it, you think about the tax man. It is something that is negatively, affectively associated. And that's quite an important thing to bear in mind. Certainly the psychoanalysts have pointed this out, and we need to bear that in mind when we talk about money in the workplace. Now, so the psychoanalysts have also come up with very interesting questions with regard to money pathology. Now we're now going to look at a series of slides, slide 8, slide 8a, slide 9, 9a, and so forth. And they all look at 4 different features associated with those who have money problems. And the story goes like this. For some people, money is associated with security. Money makes me safe. I hold money back. I feel stronger by having money because I am protected. I am protected from in the world. So you find people who are compulsive savers or self-deniers or whatever. And what they do is that they don't spend much money on themselves or other people. For them it is a symbol of their security. That is why they like banks to be built that look strong and secure. They would rather they'd put their money into bonds. They would put their money into very secure. They'd rather have a lower interest rate but trade off security. And so what money represents is a way of protecting themselves from the world. It's a way of shielding themselves against the vicissitudes of everyday life. Next, slide 9ab is the power of money. Money as power, money as a way of having influence over somebody. You can influence people with money. I can buy you. I can manipulate you. I can become an empire builder or a godfather. If I see money as the method to attain or retain power, then that is the symbolism I have. It is the symbolism of money as a weapon. And I want it so that I can control things. Money is control. Money is the way in which I have power in my life. Therefore, I want money as a means of power. Some people believe that money can buy you love, that money is a source of love, that I can become lovable as I become richer, that relationships can be bought and exchanged in terms of presents or whatever. It is no secret that rich men often marry very much younger women, and they might buy those women. Women like rich men, and that certainly is a case. Whether those relationships are happy or not is a different matter. But some people believe that you become more admirable, more lovable, more attractive as a function of your money. So money represents for people love. And finally, for some people, money represents freedom. It represents the freedom to do whatever you want to do. You can travel around the world, never work again, be nasty to bosses, and therefore it is a liberator. Well, of course, to some extent that is true, although you'll often see people imprisoned by their money, rich people, victims of their money. You will see this with people who win a lot of money, that they feel there are many people who demand money from them. The story is this: money can be symbolic. For some people it's a means of security. For others it's power. For others it's love. For some it's freedom. It can represent all these things, but some people get obsessed by it in this particular way, and that can lead to many significant problems.